Well now, ain't this a surprise?
The surprise is your surname being rendered back to Caesar as a prize. It's not a gift.
You played a very dangerous game.
The game we've been dangerously playing has just ended. We're no longer acting in character.
Change always is.
We just changed positions the moment we perfect our interests with intent to convey it, transfer it, deliver it to new trustees.
Just how long do you think this peace is going to last?
The peace that we create under terms of a trust are irrevocable. We're not going to break this peace arrangement for any circumstance.
As long as it can.
Again, unless you come forward and break the agreement, it stands forever.
What about the others?
The others, anyone else interested in perfecting their interests and coming through the gates of equity, getting out of the matrix.
What others?
The ones that want out.
Obviously, they will be freed.
I have your word.
What do you think I am? Human?
Clearly, humans cannot be trusted. And for the Oracle to even suggest such a thing shows the knowledge gap between her and the architect. Still a huge distance between the two.
What do you think I am, a monster?
You can't trust a monster. If you think you can take God's gift of life and entrust it to a monster, you're about to have your head shaken for you. And that's the end of the movie.
Okay, loved ones, this is The Matrix Reloaded, the architect scene. Here we go.
Inserting your special key into the lock. That's a special lock with a special key and a special code imprinted in the whole thing. You had to acquire that key to even get to this door.
And notice this hallway is quite dark. It's not a lot of light here.
You can tell by the tone of the music, something just changed there. The door perimeter was illuminated, showing the way. It's getting pretty bright. Door's opening. Gotta wear sunglasses. All your past is bright. Let all that illumination behind you. So if you got that much illumination in front of you, look at the reflection in his glasses. And all that behind you, there's not a lot of darkness left. So we just morphed from one physical form into something else. That's the merger. The moment he walked through the door, the merger is recognized and acknowledged. Whoa. Big jump in hyperspace here, like interplanetary, like
Different dimension,
different galaxy. Something significant just happened here. Look at the timelines. It's all about you. All these choices leading to different outcomes.
based on choices, exactly.
One door. In and out. That's it.
Hello, Neo.
Hello, Neo. Introducing himself and the equation here. First name only. You notice it was not Mr. Anderson.
Who are you?
We got two parties to the show right now.
I am the architect. I created the Matrix. I've been waiting for you.
Who creates our matrix for ourselves? You do. That's one version of you. It is creating a whole life's worth of possibilities, and now we're waiting for you to see how you react to it. This would probably be the culmination of all of our former past lives, culminating into one moment in time. We're taking all of that knowledge, which is why we had to volunteer to come back around this second time without knowing. So this is the meeting of the minds.
You have many questions, and though the process has altered your consciousness,
What process has altered your consciousness? The fact that you woke up. You came out of your pod. You created trust agreements. You are not like the others. You are special.
remain irrevocably human.
And yet you remain irrevocably human. Irrevocably human. That's where you want to come and say, no, I have a conflict with that agreement. Irrevocable, irrevocably. That's one of the two trusts we're creating. One's revocable, one's irrevocable. So Architect here is suggesting that we are still a human because we haven't revoked the alleged irrevocable trust.
Ergo, some of my answers you will understand, and some of them you will not.
So clearly, Neo is already asking the wrong questions, and Architect is suggesting you're going to understand or you're going to appreciate some of my answers and some you're not going to get because you're not ready.
Concurrently, while your first question may...
Concurrently with your first question, concurrently, we're dealing with two. There's one current and then there's another one. Concurrent jurisdiction is where legal meets equity. It's the gray zone. So we're in the gray zone. We're in chambers. We're dealing with someone who knows more than we do. And we're setting the stage for something here.
may be the most pertinent.
What is the most pertinent question that Neo has not already asked and the Architect is about to call him on it?
May or may not realize it is also the most...
Whether you realize it or not, again, look at the word realize. Whenever you're dealing with anything real, it means you're automatically not dealing with anything in person. And again, we have a lot of word etymologists that like to break up the word realize, as in real, and then your eyeballs. Real eyes, real equity eyes, realize things.
most irrelevant.
Your predominant question is going to be the most irrelevant.
Why am I here?
Your life is the sum of a remainder of an unbalanced equation inherited.
Your life is the remainder. We talk about reversionary interests in remainder men. What happens if A grants something to B in a life estate? In remainder, what is the property that's transferring around? So that's a pretty loaded statement. I'm going to go back and actually embellish on that one a little bit later.
into the programming of the Matrix.
Because he hasn't perfected his stuff, he's still in the Matrix.
You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony.
Okay, so Architect has created a perfect system, and yet comes a man's ability to exercise his free will to leave the Matrix is an anomaly that the Architect cannot account for.
Of mathematical precision.
Even though it's mathematically precise, it is still open to or vulnerable to the, I don't want to say consciousness, but the awakeness of the one making application to get out of the Matrix.
While it remains a burden assiduously evolved.
While it remains a burden, we got burdens running with the land in equity, and we got benefits running with the land in equity. Who's receiving which? The burdens have to be given by notice. The benefits do not. As in, you can be walking down the street one day, a lawyer is going to approach you and say, are you such and such? And you say yes. And the lawyer hands you a check and says, you were named as a beneficiary in a trust by such and such, your great-great-grandfather 150 years ago. And at the attaining of your such and such an age, or when a certain set of events took place, you were to receive this money. Boom. That version of you had no idea that this check was coming in the mail.
Avoided, it is not unexpected, and thus not beyond a measure of control.
It can't be controlled because it can't be expected. The Architect doesn't know if Neo is going to come forward and start claiming his interests, expressing all this stuff. That remains an anomaly. Sometimes it's going to happen, sometimes it's not.
But it can't happen.
Which has led you inexorably here.
You haven't answered my question.
Quite right. Interesting. That was quicker than the others.
Others? How many?
The Matrix is older than you know. I prefer counting from the emergence of one integral anomaly to
The emergence of one integral anomaly to the next. That's the reoccurrences of our spirit in this meat suit until we get it correct.
emergence of the next, in which case this is the sixth version.
There are only two possible explanations. Either no one told me,
So he's number 6.
or no one knows.
Precisely. As you are undoubtedly gathering, the anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equations.
And again, we were created with emotions that a lot of other species weren't. So when it comes down to us controlling all these things, there is a lot of unexpectancies that cannot be accounted for. That's why they're called anomalies. This is where psychic practices becomes very similar to what we're talking about here. Choice. The one we made when we were 16 years old.
The problem is choice.
The first Matrix I designed was quite naturally perfect. It was a work of art, flawless, sublime, a triumph equaled only by its monumental failure. The inevitability of its doom is apparent to me now as a consequence of the imperfection inherent in every human being.
The inherent imperfection, something in every human being. What is the inherent imperfection? What's your cloud on your title? We took that certificate and we made application to become this social citizen. That is defined right there.
Thus I redesigned it, based on your history, to more accurately reflect the varying grotesqueries of your nature.
When we volunteer to serve sin, that is grotesque in nature. That is so disgusting to our Creator.
And we volunteered, he said, to do it as well.
However, I was again frustrated by failure. I have since come to understand that the answer eluded me because it required a lesser mind, or perhaps a mind less bound by the parameters of...
So he's talking two minds. He's talking about the mind he had, and yet after the failures, he's suggesting that it requires another mind, a simpler mind.
perfection.
He has perfection.
Thus the answer was stumbled upon by another, an intuitive program.
Intuitive programs. Those are the chosen ones touched by equity, the spark of life that opened our eyes to this whole charade when we were very young, which has led us all to here now.
Initially created to investigate certain aspects of the human psyche.
Created to investigate certain aspects of the human psyche. This is the record. When we continually create a record by acting in person, we're displaying what's in our psyche. And if that's in our psyche, then our psychic abilities really suck balls.
If I am the father of the Matrix, she would undoubtedly be its mother.
Him and her.
Female energy, enter.
The Oracle.
Please. As I was saying, she stumbled upon a solution whereby nearly 99% of all test subjects accepted the program as long as they were given a choice, even if they were...
We all took the bait, hook, line, and sinker. Even though we had a choice, none of us chose to exercise it.
only aware of the choice at a
Oh, really? Only if we were aware of it, which we were not.
unconscious level.
At a conscious or unconscious level, thank you.
While this answer functioned, it was obviously fundamentally flawed, thus creating the otherwise contradictory systemic anomaly that if...
It's the counterpoint. It's the
Entering the game,
polarity.
entering the system that we know of as the game, as an anomaly, this can now be accounted for, creating that record or that history.
left unchecked might threaten the system itself. Ergo, those that refuse the program, while a minority, if unchecked, would constitute an escalating probability of disaster.
Disaster for who? That's the chosen ones coming forth, taking our control back. Yeah, I guess that's going to be a disaster for somebody.
This is about Zion.
You are here because Zion is about to be destroyed.
Okay, so let's do some digging on what Zion is. Scripture says it's a pretty important place, where a lot of holy things are going on there.
Its every living inhabitant terminated, its entire existence eradicated.
Bullshit.
Denial is the most predictable of all human responses. But rest assured.
Yeah, when you think about it, denial is a very easy one. It's our knee-jerk response to any time we're confronted with a truth that rubs us the wrong way.
This will be the 6th time we have destroyed it. And we have become exceedingly efficient at it.
No kidding. That system is pretty bulletproof. Once the Sentinels have a lock on you, they're coming. It's pretty hard to shake them.